As we move forward into the 30s, it proved to be one of the largest crowds, estimated over 50,000 people to our little town. At this point, we had Congressman Elmer, is it Wen? Am I pronouncing that right? Does anybody remember that? Ween, thank you. Led the procession, and the feast drew crowds from all neighboring states. The Emily brothers, and this was one of the first shows that came to the feast, was the carnival feature, and it had rides and attractions that were never seen before in southern New Jersey. So that's probably the first introduction of what we would say entertainment, other than from the religious aspect and music that did come to the feast. The feast carried on during the war, which, despite wartime restrictions, and prohibited the presentation of a carnival and fireworks display. During the war times, many families attended the feast to pray for the well-being of their loved ones, even though gas rationing limited travel. As you will see when we present some of our archives tonight, the badges worn by the Mount Carmel Society members transitioned during the war to illustrate the colors of the American flag. And tonight I welcome you to go through here, and some of our members tonight will talk about some of those artifacts that we have there that we've carried through the years and we're able to maintain. But some of the people that are in, that's my dad, Lawrence Longo, that's Mr. Jacobs, Anthony, which, do you remember? I'm sorry? Carmen Jacobs. I'm not sure who this gentleman is, but that's Joe Olive back there. And here's Anthony Jacobs' mom. The mom's in the background right there. And Sue, who was that police officer? You knew?
Bob Palucci.
Bob Palucci, right there. Does anybody recognize anybody else in these photos? Okay, but as you can see, they're coming from the church, moving towards Fairview Avenue. Which slide are we on? On 12. Slides 12 to 13. This is the 75th anniversary. It's pretty dynamic. Think about this is, many years ago in the 1950s, that the crowds at the 75th anniversary of the celebration may have been the largest ever. The crowds certainly exceeded 50,000 people. This was a special day for the society. St. Joseph's Church was beautifully decorated for the event. And if you look, something that's been a tradition for many years, still got the car stand started there, right? It's still going on. But look at how much they did back then. I mean, that's just amazing. There were no bucket trucks, I don't think, back then, do you? It's just incredible. It looks like something that would have been done 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, it's just phenomenal. The Mount Carmel Society took a group shot on the church steps with Reverend Martelli. Yeah, thank you. One of the themes of the feast was to honor the founding fathers of the festival. So that's why this all started, and they were there. So I don't know, does anybody recognize anybody in the photo here?
Yeah, that's my grandfather.
Where?
Right in front, on the end.
There?
No.
There?
Yeah. Who'd you say the other guy was? John? That's John. No, next one.
Here?
Back
Back further.
Back row.
Here?
Yeah. To the right?
Yeah.
Here? I'm going to hit zero later. But as you can see, again, on the steps of the church, it's pretty interesting. Father Mark? Is that Father Mark in? Okay. Next slide, Frank. The year 1956 saw the dedication of the Mount Carmel Society Hall. The hall was built on the grounds purchased by the Society many years before. Many members of the Society mortgaged their homes to purchase the land and fund the construction. From a simple block building, the Mount Carmel Society has undergone several renovations and additions. The street in front of the hall it has been renamed Mount Carmel Hall. I'm proud to say that my grandfather, my uncle's father, and my cousin's grandfather and Aunt Madge's dad was one of the masons that built this building originally. The building started from here to here, and then additions were put on. We came out with this overhang, and then finally this piece was added the most recent. Yeah, about 10 years ago. Thank you. This photo is pretty neat because it really depicts a lot of tradition that went on, through the processions. This photo was taken in 1963. Some may remember the tradition of carrying huge candles during the procession. The people shown below with these candles are Mr. and Mrs. Lorenzo Salapini on Bellevue Avenue. Now, if you do remember, a lot of the women and some of the men used to walk barefoot through the procession. How many of you remember that? Yeah, I do, even as a kid. I do. So, I mean, look at that. What dedication, what faith. It's amazing. What store was this, you remember? Anybody?
No.
Fitting. No, I remember it as Mangano's.
Mangano's, Johnny
Right?
Mangano's.
Right?
Sassy jewelry shop. Sassy jewelry shop.
Men's shop, yeah.
Belly Man Shop, that's Mangano. Yeah. We don't know what that is, that's the old fire department, right? Yeah. First bedroom, figuring it out. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not positive, but
Yeah.
but that's all part of first bedroom now. That might have been the restaurant.
Okay, moving forward into the 1965 era, this was the 90th anniversary of the feast. It was enhanced with the inclusion of great friends of ours, and still continue to be here. It's 47 years that have been going on, is Amusements of America. It was the Guinness World Book of Records' largest traveling carnival. Until this day, they're still providing joint entertainment to the Hammonton people in town throughout our feast. And George is our carnival chairman and has been working with them for, I think, all of them. A long time. Okay, here's just another slide. If you can look in here and pick out some of the people, but that's Father Joe Mungary, and this is Lawrence Longo, and anybody else can help with any people that you may recognize? That's the Blessed Mother.
I've been trying to get myself in more trouble on the zoom in and trying to zoom back out for the other ones.
There you go.
I'm not sure if that helps, but.
Looks like Dick Cirillo on the left
Nick,
side.
right here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay.
Wait a second now, I ain't making it bigger, and I don't know if I can make it smaller.
Okay, the 100th anniversary of the feast came with much fanfare and publicity. The feast had reached a milestone, obviously, 100 years. Longest street is a membership in 1975 at our shrine on Pine Road, taking that picture. So that's when the shrine was actually dedicated, and this was the membership at that time. We had, at that point, we did a procession. I think they had a ceremony out of the site there, and St. Anthony's Church, and we had a small mini procession out there, and then carried everything over to the 16th of July. Okay, there have been many notable dignitaries who've attended the feast. Oops. Time out. Back up. In 1975, to commemorate the anniversary of the shrine, the Mount Carmel Society did purchase a statue that we now keep in the, which adorns our hall at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Society. So that's been there. We've been fortunate enough to have some renovations done inside of the hall that have given us the opportunity to place her in her proper spot within the building. And you can't see it here, but to the left and to the right, there are trophy cases or bookcases, if you would, that house a lot of the material that you'll see here tonight. So I welcome you anytime you have the opportunity to visit and you have a chance to stop in the hall to take a look at all the artifacts that we do carry from year to year through the traditions and through all of our heritage that has been a part of this organization. Now, I got it. There have been many notable dignitaries who've attended the feast. We've had bishops from the Diocese of Camden. We've had U.S. congressmen, even a governor participated. The photo was in 1981 when Governor Thomas Keene made a visit to the procession. The Mount Carmel Society is so very thankful to all our local county and state officials that join us annually. And we do. We have a great turnout and a lot of support from our politicians and community. Moving on, as you can see, the pictures are starting to come in color. We're getting better. In 1986, Father Pat Annable, right? Is that what he said? Yeah, I just knew him as Father Pat. Never knew the last name. That was a hard one. Led Our Lady of Mount Carmel statue through the town of Hammonton with members of the society. The procession is a sacred event to everyone in the society, as well as it is to others. The procession usually takes 3 to 4 hours to complete, but in 1989, a lot of us here can recall that torrential downpour that started right after pretty much we came out of our Mass, with the Bishop, Father Angelo was there, and we started, and when we rounded Bellevue Avenue coming down 3rd Street, it was pretty much a deluge. And fortunately, the Blessed Mother didn't let it lightning and thunder, because that would have had to stop and cease. So I think in the 2 times I can remember reading, we never had that lightning or thunder that would prohibit us from, being able to continue and finish the procession. But here in this picture is Father Pat, Ronnie Virgilio. Is that your dad?
I think that's Anthony.
Anthony Tomasello. This guy looks like Uncle Butch. Larry Longo. John Spone, right?
That's down.
Yep. Yeah. I'm sorry, Louis Pantalone. Which one? The real Louis stand up. But again, that's the 111th year. And we've been very good to count. We've not messed that up at all. The Society's first member chaplain, and those of you who know him got to understand this and love him, Father Joseph Capelli. What a blessing for us to have him as part of us. One dynamic priest, one dynamic human being. Father Joe has graciously always supported us, has been with us. Any opportunity he has to come back. Recently we celebrated, and we have a pig roast every year that the society gets together with. Father comes and celebrates Mass for us. We have an annual Christmas party, of which, again, our faith is precedent. We have Father Joe comes in and says a Mass for our society at those events. So a very integral part of us, and we're very blessed to have him with us. But once again, Father Tom, this is Father Tom's, his 3rd feast. But again, he's a Hammontonian, so he's lived it all his life, which made things, yes. Thank you very much. And Father Joe, prior to that, was a member.
Still is.
Well, yeah, I mean, becoming the chaplain.
Oh, before you.
Yes. But there's Anthony Jacobs, Sam Micholi. Sammy's unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight, but one of the, I believe, the oldest, longest tenure in the society, with over 50 years of service. Yes. Anthony is our oldest member. Tomasello. That's you, Kenny, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Chief Jones, Larry, can't see. There's
Tommy Cavuto.
Oh, Tom. Yeah. Yeah. The procession and festival is known throughout the country. Yes, the crowds have lessened, but you know what? We've done a lot to bring that back. I mean, there's been a lot of energy and investment to make this be the way it used to be. Now, times have changed and we all recognize that. You know, there's a lot of activities going on, a lot more with your children and things that create other venues of interest, but we have seen a rise in attendance, and we believe that's going to continue. As a society, we've overcome many obstacles to continue this wonderful tradition, and I speak for everyone from the society by expressing our deepest gratitude to the town of Hammonton and to the pilgrims that continue to help us perpetuate this wonderful event. The society looks forward to celebrating our 137th year. Can you imagine? It was tough back then, but they keep it going. It says a lot for the men and women, children, wives, significant others that help do this, and our local businesses that do help and continue this feast. As our ancestors did before us, we will always do all that is needed to make our Italian Thanksgiving a success. All right, this is where it gets tough. Now follow this if you will. I just wanted to share a typical feast day in the life of a member and a family member of Our Lady of Mount Carmel.
Hey, look, our new guy's paying attention.
All right. As I mentioned earlier, our day starts on the 16th. Now, depending upon where the 16th falls, that could be the first day, it could be the second day, it could be the third day, it could be the fourth day, it could be the last day. You don't know because it's all predicated around that day, the 16th. All right, most events, they book it within, a week. The only other holiday that I know that falls where it's supposed to is 4th of July. Okay, so this holiday for us, this festival for us, this celebration for us, this feast for us, this dedication for us is always on the 16th. So we'll meet at 7 a.m. at the hall. Then everybody will get in their vehicles and we'll drive to Pine Road where our monument is. At that time, we're led in prayer by our chaplain, Father Joe Capelli. We'll then take a group picture and have a toast to start the day with our good friend Joe Donio. Joe's always out there to get us going and blood flowing. At that point, we'll get in our vehicles, go back to the hall and prepare for our Mass. The Mass now, in prior years, used to be at 7 a.m., but we've now moved that to 9 a.m. so we can have more attendance and have more people. But Masses usually start at 7, and as if you don't know, they'll go through the day. It used to be every hour on the hour, now it's certain that it's probably 5 Masses a day. The Masses, that particular Mass is dedicated to the deceased members of our society. So at that point, we recognize them, we make sure, we understand and commit ourselves once again to perpetuate this feast through their hard work, who kept us going and kept us to this point. Upon completion of the Mass, we then return to the hall and prepare for our morning procession. Now, this is tradition that they've always done. Everybody always knows about the big procession, but those of you who have lived around Hammonton, have you ever seen us walking around town in the morning? All right, that's a tradition that was very, very popular. And what used to happen, there was a lot of stops. We used to have a band, we used to go to establishments throughout the town. But as it goes now, because of things changing, what we'll do is we'll get back to the place, our band is assembled, and now we'll start to prepare to go through the streets for that morning. We'll begin by raising the American flag at our building and the band playing the national anthem. Once this is completed, then we'll raise the Italian flag and play the Italian national anthem. As you'll see through the rest of this talk a little bit, that's going to happen various times throughout the day, recognizing both our country and Italy as well. We'll then proceed down Tilton Street to the Veterans Park. At that time, we will go inside the Veterans Park there, gather around, and again, the American National Anthem will be played for all those veterans that gave their lives for our country, and also the Italian National Anthem. From there, we'll go to the Senior Citizen Center, and every year they look forward to having us there. Our band will go in and they'll perform a little concert for the senior citizens within there, and we'll enjoy time with them. They'll be dancing and singing, sing-alongs and so forth. Once that's completed, we'll leave there and we'll proceed to Town Hall. At Town Hall, we'll be greeted by the mayor, chief of police, and at that time, the three of us will raise the American flag. Again, the national anthem will be played. Once that's done, the Italian national anthem will be played. Next, we'll proceed up Central Avenue, and we'll get to the corner of Central and Horton, and it's a relatively new stop, but it's one that we really like to do because we're celebrating something for someone else too. It's our good friend Gabe Donio, and he happens to be born on July 16th. So we'll pull over there and we'll have the band play Happy Birthday and we'll sing the game, which is, he's been a great supporter, he and Gina, of our society, and they do a lot for us, and just one way to say thank you to him as well on that special day for him. From there, we'll move down Bellevue Avenue over to Tracks, and then we'll meet with a great family and supporters, and that's the Mazza family. What a fantastic family. That's been a stop and host to our society for several decades. While we're there, the band will perform and people will dance and sing. Usually, God rest his soul, Mr. Mazza would come out, he'd play the trombone, he would dance with his wife, they'd do the polka. A lot of activities that would take place there. And once again, they've always had plenty of refreshments and goodies to get us revitalized, to get some fluids in us, get some food in us while we took our trek back towards the hall. We would normally go through town again, but you know, in the respect of travel and traffic jams, we take it down the side road now. We'll go down Pleasant Street, and we'll take Pleasant Street to get to 3rd Street. Once on 3rd Street, we'll proceed down towards our great friends at the Sons of Italy. So we'll go in there, and they typically have something going on there, and they have a lot of guests that they open their facility to. So once again, the band will go inside, we'll come through, we'll walk right through the building, go out to their pavilion in the back, and they'll start to play again. We'll all be around, gathered around. There's a lot of traditional things that we'll do together, you know, songs and sing-alongs, and a lot of great camaraderie there, and welcoming all their guests as well. So we'll spend about 3 days there, and then we'll we'll spend about a half hour, 45 minutes there with them, and just renew that friendship, and again, the Italian heritage coming all together. Once that's complete, we'll proceed back to the hall, and at that point, the work begins. There's many duties that have to be performed. We have teams working together to prepare food for our food stand, to get the beer garden ready. We have Larry, who's our chairman of fireworks, Anthony Tomasello, who is the co-chairman. They're running down to make sure the fireworks are all established, set up. The guy knows what to do, how to make sure the bombs go off every hour on the hour, when we're making a corner, when we're turning it. So there's a lot happening there. One of the most important things is you think it's just our membership that does that, and the gentlemen that are inside of our membership, but it's something that we can't do any of this without the support of our wives, our mothers, our children, our significant others. None of this could be accomplished. It's incredible. You can't imagine the camaraderie that happens and takes place inside this week through all the dedication that so many of the family members do. And I mean it from the little ones to the elders. I mean, everyone is involved. There is something for each and every person to do within that society, and they gracefully do it. They welcome to do it. And I don't know of many organizations that can say that. I mean, we're an organization and we have a membership of approximately 47. And we have typically a turnout of 99%. And that's through the family too. I mean, if you're there, your wife, your mother, your cousin, everybody is working, your daughters, your sons. I mean, it's a tremendous feeling to have that kind of support. Because right after that, we have to feed that band that just walked around with us, so there's about 30 members. So they're running like crazy to get all that prepared and get that done. This takes place, so they're ready to go for the procession too, because they're going to march in the procession. Not only did they march in the morning, but they're going to march in the procession as well. This takes place all between about 1 and 2 o'clock. About 3 o'clock, we'll start to prepare to go to the procession. Now, we have committees that are assigned to specific duties. We have marshals who are assigned to line up all the participants within the procession, and Kenny's one, Lewis is one, Rocky Fugitola Jr. is one. So they'll start to head down to the church. We have a statue committee who's assigned to make sure all the statues that are in the church come out of the church and are placed on their appropriate carriers and floats. We'll have a team of gentlemen, Louis and Joe Brigandi, who will set up the PA system that we'll use for announcing the lineup of who's coming out of the church, the saints as they get onto the street, the different floats, the different organizations. So as you can see, there's a million things that are happening at one time. At about 3:30 p.m., the remaining members at the society and our band will assemble on the Mount Carmel lane. At this time, we again will play the national anthem as we come out of the building, and then the Italian national anthem. The third song that is played by the organization is a song that was written by the band leader, Herb Roselle. And a little history about that. It was very hard to find these Italian marching bands, and they were virtually becoming extinct. So in effort to make sure that we always had some type of band, I'm proud to say my father, back in 1989, sought out Herb Roselle, and with the help of Herb and Anthony Guerreri, they were able to put together a band of which we now proudly and call, and again, we're all proud of. It's the Mount Carmel Society Band, and it's named in honor of my father. And that band now continues to play, and we know that we'll always have a traditional marching band for the procession. So there's a song that he wrote and dedicated to my dad that is played at that point in time, and before we process and move up to the church. As tradition has it, there's certain events that occur in the history of the procession, and two of them is that there are two other societies. If you remember, the first feast that would happen in Hammonton was on June 24th, was the Feast of St. John, right? So that starts the summer. Then you would have July 16th, right, which was the beginning, that was the summer, and then after that, summer's over, but then you would have the Assumption, the Feast of the Assumption on August 15th. Well, those two societies, they join us in that procession. So with tradition, we go to on 3rd Street and pick up, as we say, pick up. We go greet the society, the vice president will go there, so George will go up, welcome them, bring them out, and at that time, they'll come out with the American flag, the national anthem is played, and immediately following that, they'll come out with the Italian flag, and the Italian national anthem is played, and they'll be guided by the marshals into the line of the procession. That's done for both societies. Once that's complete, we'll start the procession. Now, the lineup, and this year, if God wills, we'll have the ambassador, Mr. Jimmy Rodeo. He'll be reading off and acknowledging each participant that comes out onto the street. Don't worry about that, I'll never remember it. So to give you an idea of how it works, the lineup goes, you have the flags, okay, and then you'll have our delegates. So it could be the mayor, town council, and any person, you know, maybe from a political aspect would be up front. And then you would have the Mount Carmel officers, the Mount Carmel members. Then you would have the Mount Carmel Band, the Assumption Society, St. John's Society, the Altar Boys with the Cross, and then the procession of saints begin. So just listen to the number of saints that are in this feast. You have St. Joseph, St. John the Baptist, St. Anne, Milagrosa, St. Jude, St. Lucy, St. Anthony Abbot. About how mmany years ago, Joe Burgandy, did we bring in the Hammonton Band? Do you remember, Kenny? About 3 years ago, we were saying we're trying to find bands. We got one right in town. All right. So we went to Kevin Arena, a great young man, and said, Kevin, do you think you guys would be interested in performing in the procession? And you know, it's pretty tough because there's a question of, you know, can we do something in the vein of possibly a religious aspect? Are we offending anybody? But they recognized this and understood that, no, it really wasn't. This is a piece of history, and it's something that has been around and is one of the historical tradition that takes place. So they gladly joined, and so now they're a part of that. So if we ever lose our Italian band, the Carmel band, we still have another opportunity with our local high school band. So they've been a great addition. Then we have St. Rocco, a couple floats in the parade, the procession, Immaculate Conception float. We have St. Anthony of Padua. We have St. Rita, Our Lady of Assumption, St. Vincent Pallotti, Our Lady of Guadalupe, Padre Pio, St. Martin de Porres, Sacred Heart float, between Jack Donio and Eugenia and Angela Donio, they do the floats. They do a great job, fantastic job every year. And then the last Italian band or marching band that we know of is the Verdi Band. So that they wind up, and then you have Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Almost done. Okay. So at 4 o'clock, Our Lady is brought out of the church by the statue committee and placed on her carrier on the street. This signifies the beginning of the procession. The 8 men assigned to the statue had the distinct honor of escorting Our Lady through the streets of Hammonton, as this year the 137th tradition continues. And as you know, we go from the church, 3rd Street, Fairview, Railroad, Bellevue, 3rd, back to the church again. Again, we say the time usually takes about 3 to 4 hours. Upon returning to the church, our chaplain, Father Joe, will address the crowd. He will acknowledge all the participants who have marched in the procession, as well as thanking them, along with our police, the fire, the emergency, the town workers, the town of Hammonton. Those town workers do a fantastic job throughout that feast. I mean, every day they're out there, not complaining, maintaining the streets, maintaining cleanliness. It's just phenomenal. That will take place once Father has completed those acknowledgments, as Our Lady is brought back inside, and then he'll conclude that with the Mass that will happen right after, immediately following the procession. So as Our Lady is brought back inside the church by the statue committee, the band will play Immaculate Mary. And it's probably one of the most chilling times if you've ever been there and experienced it. I mean, it's amazing. So if you haven't, I would shudder to think, I think everybody that's here has been there. So it's something to really appreciate and have in the back and a memory that you won't lose. At that point, the statue committee will return all the statues to their proper place within the church, and the remaining members will return to the hall where they assume their duties, helping out the stand and the beer garden. And we still have a traditional Verdi band will come back to the hall, and they'll play what we call an Italian concert of all the ethnical music that was played years ago, and they'll conclude that with the national anthem. And at that time, the fireworks usually take place around 10 o'clock. Fireworks were gone for a while, and that was only because of the regulations. We've been very fortunate now with the ability to move them to where St. Joseph's High School is, that has given us the proper guidance, the proper ability to, within the code and guidelines, to have the fireworks. So we think it's been a great addition back to the feast that was missing for many, many years. So we usually get done that night, I mean, when the lights go off about midnight. But our work isn't done. Obviously, you know, there's cleanup and there's a lot of details. So we're running pretty hard for that day. But typically the feast will run anywhere from 7 to 6 days per year. This year the feast will start on July 11th, which is a Wednesday, and it will go over the weekend and will end on July 16th. And David, got everything with the last page. There we go. Okay. As you can see, our society is all about heritage and tradition. In one way, shape, or form, have ties to basically every family in the town throughout the years. If you look on our deceased members plaque, which you'll see over there, names like Pizzi, Crescenzo, Ruberding, Shan, Donio, Luca, Ardilli, Pinto, or just to name a few. As part of our heritage in the early 80s, we formed our own historical committee and within the society. Kevin Tomasello, who's over here, is our chairman of that committee, along with David DeStefano as the vice chairman. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to them so they can just show you some of the archives that we've gathered over the years. So at this point, Dave.
Thank you, Louis. I'd like to welcome everyone here. Thank you for coming out. We'll just give you a brief little overview of some of the items that we have here. I don't know, imagine many of you have been into our hall and have seen our display case, the Historical Society, where many of these items are kept. Show of hands, people that have been to our hall and have seen the items. That's good. And we welcome anyone that hasn't previously to stop by during the week. They can. Goes in around lunchtime is usually a nice little time during the feast week, and see a lot of our items, and we'll be welcome to give you a little tour. Certainly when our historical committee was formed in the 80s, one of the things that our club was very good in preserving the tradition of the feast. One of the things we were lacking was acknowledging and documenting our own history. And it wasn't, like Louis said, till the 1980s that we formed an actual committee to actually start documenting some of these items. It started out with mostly Kevin taking pictures and putting them into little albums that we have there. That's how we got our start. A lot of these items were items that were donated by people. Like I said, we had very few of our own type of items. I'd like to go through just some of them. Well, first off, we're going to start. Our organization was chartered in 1905, and in that time we've had very few presidents. Our presidents tend to stick around a long time. We'd like to acknowledge two of our past presidents are a part of this panel up front. Mr. Anthony Jacobs and George Campanella, who was president from 1988 till 2010. One of the very early presidents was a Mr. Pizzi, I believe it was Ben Pizzi. Correct me guys if I'm wrong. Mr. David Longo was a president in the 1940s. That would be your grandfather? Okay. Anthony P. Jacobs had 2 terms, and he was one of the longest serving presidents from the 50s until 1975 when he retired. And Mr. Louis Tomasello, who was the father of Kevin Tomasello, became president. We also have Anthony Injemi, and like we said, several of the photos, and Carmen Pantalone was the president, who was, of course, Louis's father in the 1980s. One of the things he also reiterated was the badges. We have a selection of our badges here, which you can see from the very early days. One of our gentlemen who's not here tonight, Sam Masholi, that was his job for many years, is to make sure that we had badges. That became an increasingly difficult task, as this was, in later years, they were very hard to replace. So we've now become, if you've noticed, our uniform shirt embroidered onto the shirt, which is just owing to the difficulties we have in getting some of these craft people to make. We couldn't make the, I think, the pin part of the badge or something. That was, but again, you're welcome to come and take a look at some of the, we have the selection of photos from the early years of the feast, some where the road was not paved. One of the items that was donated to us by Mr. Robert Stano, who was a relation to the Aiellos, and I believe Ellen is a member of the Historical Society, correct? Right. Mm-hmm. This sash dates from the early 1900s, which is, again, very early years of the feast. It was in the family of the Aiellos. It was passed down through several generations. Mr. Robert Stano in 1994, I believe, approached us, and he donated that item to our society, where it very proudly hangs in our display case. And again, I have to give credit for our display case to Mr. Louis Pantalone, who Bruce designed, and again, the people that have seen that in the thing know the great work and great job he did in designing and displaying our items. Thank you, Louis. Another one of the items, again, here's Mr. Gelona wearing a sash. Sashes were very popular in the early years before they were replaced by the badges. And they did bring back, I believe, in the 70s, I believe for the anniversary year. And there's a picture of here in 1975 of Mr. John Gelona wearing a ceremonial sash that was brought back for that particular year. Louis read earlier in the slideshow about the 50th anniversary of 1925. Again, we want to point to the fact that items were donated. Our original item of that flyer, the item that we had was badly damaged and, you know, generally poor condition. One of the gentlemen who was in the police security force that the town, again, we can do a wonderful job in protecting us during that feast week, and Atlantic County Sheriff's officers, officers from surrounding communities, including Mullica and Buna, have often been utilized on the feast day itself for crowd control and you know, general security. Mr. Brian Grasso, who in later years transferred to the Hammonton Police Department, is now a Hammonton police officer, was one of those security officers that came down when he worked for the Buna Police Department. He was perusing our case there, and he saw that item that we had badly damaged, and he said, "I think my father has that." And he certainly went back, and he did, and he very kindly donated a pristine copy of that 1925 document that we have here on display today. And again, you know, that's one of the things. We're very poor. We don't have a lot of photos, and if anyone has anything out there, photos from the 1960s and the 1970s, we tell stories that you know, about some of those times and days, but we don't have photos. And if a lot of these items were donated by townspeople, so if anyone has anything or knows of anything connected with the feast, we would be more than happy if you got in contact with us, and we would make copies or do whatever we can to get some items, because I'm sure people have some things in their possession that would be of interest to us. Our society is involved in many, many activities as far as through the town, and one of those was the twinning of the town, which the Italian Heritage was involved in. The Mount Carmel was heavily involved with that. We have some items here. I don't know if you can show a couple of them. For those of you that do not know, the town of Hammonton is twinned with the San Gregorio, which is a little community outside of Rome, about 15 miles outside of Rome. And the Mount Carmel Society, along with the Sons of Italy and various members of the town, became involved in that. And that was we were very honored to take part in that project with the various groups. And that's a picture of the San Gregorio Band who have marched in our Feast of Mount Carmel procession. And they've come down several times, and a contingent from Hammonton has gone to San Gregorio. And it was formed a great bond and relation, which was initially brought by Herb Brazil, who was one of the founder members of the Mount Carmel Society Band. And talking about the Mount Carmel Society Band, in 1997, they came to us, and they wanted to do something for Carmen Pantalone, who got them together. And they wanted to rename the band in his honor. So we thought we would make that an event and have a little surprise party for Carmen. And there was a proclamation made that on July 16th, 1997, the band would be renamed the Carmen Pantalone Mount Carmel Society Band. In Carmen's honor, since he was very, very involved with the musical aspect and getting the Italian marching bands and putting those guys together. Like I said, Anthony Guerreri from Hammonton, Bob Hittman has also been a member of the Mount Carmel Society Band. And they continue to this day to be a great support and honor. And it was very nice to do that in Carmen's memory. Again, we have some artifacts from that day. Again, we have some our commemorative books. Go from one from the 1945, the 70th anniversary. It was put together, and we have a few of these. The 100th year anniversary booklet was 1975. Again, has a lot of great information. Sam Micholi, again, who is not here, was instrumental in putting together this book. He did it almost single-handedly. And I can tell you what a chore that was, because our historical society was involved in the 125th year book that came out 12 years ago, of which we have copies if anyone is interested in taking a copy home tonight. But Sam did this one virtually himself, and we can tell you that as the group of about more than a half a dozen people that put together the 125th, I don't know how Sam was able to do that himself. So that's a great testimony to a great member who was also our longtime treasurer from 1976 to 1993. And he's heavily devoted, again, a long-standing 50-year plus member who we sadly can't make it tonight due to some difficulties. Again, there's other photos. In 1989, after one of our processions, we were sitting around somewhere enjoying a beverage, probably, myself and Rocco Fusatola, another member who is not here tonight. And we wanted to do something to honor our senior members, our fathers. And we said they were always the guys doing the bulk of the work. So we want to show them that us young guys, and at that time we were young guys, you know, that hey, we could do something too. So we came up with the idea, and it was basically Rocco's idea, that we should have a dinner commemorating and to honor our senior members and our fathers. So we put that together, and we presented our fathers, our members, and somehow together the young guys all got together and cooked for the first time and made a meal, and I think it turned out well, did it? Right? But we presented them with a plaque and a mug there that was presented to every father and senior member, and that was one of our very nice events. And one of the things we did, and we'll have, you want to come up and read that?
They can probably get through it. They can get there.
Okay. You know, that shows the essence of our society. We gave them a nice presentation, which shows how our society wants to continue through the years, through family. Our members are like brothers, you know, and we, you know, that's what we're about, to continue the feast, to perpetuate Our Lady of Mount Carmel. And so we, again, welcome anyone to come through and peruse and ask any questions or anything they like. And thank you for attending.
At this time, we have some of our members that have been with us for the longest time or more that can help answer any questions that you may want to ask. So if there's anybody that has any questions, yes, sir.
It's not a question, but if I could offer a recollection from the 40s.
Please do.
One of the band you didn't mention was John Raff.
Raff, yes.
And I don't know if John had any formal responsibilities, but he had a roving ambassador for you. And I understood they would stop from time to time and have some refreshments, and all day long that they would go all the way to Hammonton.
Very good point. Thank you,
And
Mr. Parker.
then one other is that my good and late friend, Dan Patira, he looked forward to the day, but also for the fact that there was such a premium on parking that his father let him keep all the proceeds from
Very entrepreneurs, yeah. I think that was the biggest commodity. Everybody put a sign in front of their house, parking. I know they're going to impress you. It's pretty neat. Any questions from the audience? Well, we can't let these guys stay up here. Yes, ma'am.
On the badges.
Yes.
Did everybody have a badge? Is that what?
Anthony?
One time.
Okay, and so now you just have
The early ones were in Italian, through the years they got changed to English, but you can see, years how they changed.
Yeah, we also have nameplates. The hardest part was we couldn't find anybody to make them. I mean, we went high and low. Sammy was the last one. We bought a whole bunch of them, but unfortunately, they're exhausted. Anyone else? Well, before we go, I'd just like the members that are in the audience, just stand up so everybody can see who you are. Once again, it's really a privilege for us to be up here and speak in front of you today. Hopefully we didn't bore you. Hopefully we gave you some interesting facts and some great pictures about who we are and what we are. We are one dedicated group, and we care about, first of all, the Blessed Mother and our faith, and secondly, we care about this town a tremendous amount. This town, as you can see, 137 years that we've invested in it, and we're very proud to be here and be a part of it. So we thank you for all your support, and we welcome you again this year to be with us and visit with us and share in our feast day. Thank you very much.